All right, let's I wanna air this out because I try to keep you guys level-headed, with the whole Dalvin Cook situation, right? I kept you guys level-headed. You had plenty of media members and people reporting that they were trying to trade for him, and I told you they're not gonna trade for him. And, oh, they're gonna pounce on him right away when he's released, and I told you they won't. We try to keep you level-headed, okay? We try to give you real information on what's actually going on with the Miami Dolphins, or sometimes the media will spin certain things, and we will then have to kind of straighten it out a little bit and tell you, no, that's not what's going on. The media was freaking out about Tua, and we were telling you, no, there's nothing wrong with Tua. It's flow, and he can't build a staff and those kind of things. So we kind of keep you level-headed here, right? So lately, the latest thing now, and it was started by Omar. I saw my man Barry also pick up on it, and others have picked up on it. And they're trying to, it's scare tactics. It's FUD, like what we like using in the investment world. Any of you that are in the stocks or in crypto, we have that word FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD, right? And media specifically loves to spread FUD in anything. Life, politics, entertainment, sports, you name it. They love spreading FUD because FUD gets clicks. FUD gets people worried and concerned and debating and arguing and, all that kind of good stuff, right? So now the latest is we're in the middle of a terrific season. Oh, well, they've got cap concerns coming up. First of all, it's a cap-driven league. Everyone has cap concerns. Every single year, no matter how good you are or how bad you are, everybody has cap decisions that they have to make. Okay? Now, the funny part is that they've got, Miami cutting a whole bunch of players and, oh my God, how they're going to pay this, that. Well, see, here's the problem with a lot of the media members that live in the past, a lot of you Dolphin fans that live in the past. Your buddy that tells you, oh, well, we were 8-3 last year, and the wheels came. Well, the Dolphins, they always take this point, and then they let me down. And the problem with all of those statements that every one of you are using when you talk about the Dolphins or you want to talk about the salary cap issues or anything else is that you are comparing apples and oranges. 8-3 last year and 8-3 this year is completely different because the team is much healthier and they have their quarterback and they have a defensive coordinator and their defense is completely healthy pretty much, going into the stretch here. They are a completely different team. So there's no comparison. Why would you compare? And then, oh, well, the Dolphins always get me to this point and then they let me down. Okay, I remember that in 5 years ago and 10 years ago and 20 years ago. But I'm sorry, this coaching staff is way better than anything you've had here in the last 25 years. This front office is better than anything you've had here in 40 years. This quarterback is the best you've had since Marino. So I'm sorry, that doesn't fly. Which is kind of what I talked about when we started the show. That stuff just doesn't fly. Those arguments, those concerns, they don't fly. And you know what also doesn't fly? This bullshit about, oh, the Dolphins have salary cap issues. Let me explain to you something that has changed on this team. So who the hell is Kendall Lamb? We couldn't ever see a starting unit, much less backups. So now all of a sudden the Dolphins can find offensive linemen off the street. They're even developing the Keon Smith kid quietly. Nobody talks about it. We did. We talked about it in training camp that, hey, that Keon Smith kid kind of like. And he kind of ended up on the roster. Anyway, we kind of nailed the Brooks, the Julian Hill, what was the other one that was, what was the third guy that we nailed? We nailed all three of the young guys that they kept in Keon Smith. So these guys can find players. They can make trades like Jalen Ramsey for a third rounder. I can just go through the roster. Okay. And I know it hasn't worked out yet, but the Chase Claypool one could be a good one. The River Craycraft pickup 2 years ago obviously has proven to be a guy that really fits the system and what they're doing. Right? Then you start looking all over the place. They find a Zach Sealer out of absolutely nowhere to come help you. An Andrew Van Ginkel in the 5th round. They signed a David Long in the offseason. These are things that they continue to do. They drafted Fitzpatrick, and then they were forced to trade him because of Flo, but then they go and find Javon Holland. They find a Kader Kohu off the street. I mean, what I'm trying to tell you is this is a team that can draft. This is a team that can find undrafted free agents. This is a team that can find street free agents like a Kendall Lamb, like a Zach Sealer, like a Cotton, like a Robert Jones. They can find guys to help you out. Deshaun Elliott hasn't been a bad pickup as a free agent pickup overall for them. This continues to happen all over the place. And maybe Julian Hill does to develop into something. Chris Brooks has shown us something, right? I really like Chris Brooks, actually. So they find people all over the place. Now, nobody mentions this in the media, but we'll do this here. Guess what's going to start now? Because you're not used to this, Dolphin fans. But guess what? Guess what's going to start over the next couple of years now? The cycle. The cycle. Yeah. The cycle of compensatory picks. Because, the media likes to spin it like you're not going to be able to sign everybody. And they make it sound terrible. And yeah, it kind of is. But when you know how to draft and you know how to find street free agents and you know how to find unrestricted free agents and you know how to make trades, you know how to fill holes. And so now you're going to start, and as long as your stupid ass owner doesn't go out and go get Tom Brady again and gets busted, but as long as our owners aren't doing stupid things costing them picks, you are now going to start having your allotment of picks and compensatory picks. So you're going to give a front office that knows how to draft more picks. Yeah, so you can't sign them all, but you're going to start getting compensatory picks for some of these guys that you don't sign. So if Christian Wilkins, you don't agree with him to a new deal and he goes somewhere else, here comes a compensatory pick, which will be another weapon for them to reload. So it's really easy for somebody to say that you're going to have cap issues, but then they don't follow up by saying, even if you have some decisions to make, the Dolphins have proven that all these examples I've given, I don't need to repeat them again, but they know how to find other players. They know how to draft now, Dolphin fans, something that they didn't know how to do in the past. And that's why they never had a compensatory pick cycle, because they didn't know how to draft. They weren't hitting on picks. And the few that they would hit, they wouldn't even keep them. So now you're going to be able to keep the ones you want. You're going to unfortunately let some go, but you're also going to start getting a compensatory pick for some of these players, which will then be the extra addition. Next year, I told you, X is probably gone. Ogbach could be probably gone next year. You're going to move on from players. You're going to be able to open up salary slots. And like I told you, when you do sign Tua, his first year won't be big money either. and he's going to play on his 5th year next year. So you're going to buy yourself a couple of more years, which is not what the media tells you, because it's not sexy. It's sexy to make you want to worry. It's sexy for you to be concerned. It's not sexy for you to be happy. The media doesn't want to put out feel-good stories all the time because they're boring. They don't get clicks. The DUI gets clicks. The guy that ran over somebody gets clicks. The fight gets clicks. This guy getting fired gets clicks. The trade gets clicks. But the guy that visited the hospital, no clicks. The fact that everything's beautiful, very few clicks. That's kind of the way you guys are wired, and that's why they work that way. I don't work that way because I work for myself. I don't care. I care about you guys. So I'd rather just tell you the truth, and I'll be able to work you up plenty of times. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll work you up and tell you that Dalvin Cook is not going to be traded for when everybody else is. I'll get you worked up. Don't worry about it. I'll get you worked up when I tell you that Tua is going to be a baller, when everybody's telling you he sucks and he can't play, all that. I'll work you out. I'll work you up when I tell you that Flo's going to get fired in the middle of a winning streak. Don't worry about it. I'll get you worked up, but I'll get you worked up when it's actually supposed to get you worked up. I'm not going to do this fake bullshit where I'm trying to create drama where there is no drama. And by the way, what you should be focused in on now, if you're the media, instead of worrying and writing about bullshit that may not happen down the line, why don't you worry about all the good stories that are going on now? Why don't you write more about Mike McDaniel, and why don't you write more about Liam Eichenberg, how he's fought through everything? There's a lot of good stories. David Long, why don't you write more about that guy? That guy's balling out. Why don't you write more about Andrew Van Ginkel now and the opportunity that he has, which is an opportunity of a lifetime? Why don't you write about Emmanuel Ogbah, who's been a pro? Okay, well, he's getting paid, but a lot of guys get paid and then they complain because they're not playing, and he's been a pro. And now he's going to have an opportunity. Why don't you write about that? Why don't you write that he actually picked up a sack and a half coming off the bench? There's a lot of great stories. Why don't you write about Chris Brooks? You know what I mean? Why don't you write about all the moves that the front office has made? Why don't you write about how the culture has completely changed? Why don't you write about that Chris Greer said that the dysfunction was gone, and a couple years later, he's right. Dysfunction's gone. Not in Buffalo, not with the Jets, not with the Patriots, but it is with the Dolphins. There's like a lot of stuff to write about, but you want to focus in on talking about some bullshit, about some cap issues that may not even exist because you have a great front office. So even if they might be a little limited in money, they can still find a Chris Brooks and a Zach Sealer, and they can draft an Andrew Van Ginkel in the 5th round, and they can, you know what I mean? And maybe this Cameron Good kid now, because Andrew Van Ginkel's got to play outside, and he played a little bit on Friday, maybe Cameron Good, who's stuck around here for 2 years, maybe there's a reason why he's stuck around. Maybe there's a reason why Vic Fangio saw him and now has kept him around. I don't know. And there's another guy. What if Cameron Good becomes a player and that's another guy you found at the back end of the draft? Does the media tell you this? Shouldn't they write that story like, hey, Dolphins, you may not have to worry about cap issues because they know how to draft, because they can find undrafted, because they can find unrestricted free agents, because they can trade and they can get the best of these trades. Why don't they write it that way? Because it doesn't sell. That's why. Logic doesn't sell. Happiness doesn't sell. Positive doesn't sell. Negative sells. So let's talk about a salary cap issue that may not even exist. So that's my 2 cents. I think it's absolute crap what some of the people are spewing out there about this team.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.